Hi, my name's Billy, I read books, and these are the books I read in July of 2023. Now, I don't know about you, but doing a wrap up of the previous month, midway through the current month, is always the best time to do this. That's what I find anyway. But I'll do you a deal. Before we get into this, if you get any enjoyment out of this video at all, consider giving it a Billy big thumb, give it a thumbs up, it helps the channel out. And if any of these books appeal to you or you add them to your TBR, consider subscribing to the channel. Now, onto the books that I read. To start with, I read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. And this was the second book of his that I've read. I didn't enjoy the first book I read, which was A Scanner Darkly. I thought I'd give this one a go because it's one of his more famous ones. It's what the film Blade Runner was based on. And it was just okay. There's just something about his writing that I just don't get on with. It just doesn't work for me. I just feel a bit uncomfortable when I'm reading it. I can't relate to it too well. It's just a bit jarring. I can't put my mind on my finger on what it is. But with this story, the android part of the book was quite good. The police officer detective kind of element to it and hunting these androids was okay. And there's this weird animal element to the story, and obviously there's an animal in the title, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but there's these like electric animals that people have because real animals are like extinct or rare or something. It was just a bit bizarre, and I didn't like that element of the story. Ultimately, I was interested how the story went, the main part of the story went, but I wasn't that invested towards the end. Was I bothered about the outcome of the story? No, not really. I don't know if Philip K. Dick is going to be an author I'm going to continue trying. I think I've got, is it The Man in the High Castle? I think I've got that. I might give that a go, and if that doesn't click for me, I'll have to say that this author just isn't working for me. So in the end, I gave this book 3 sheeps out of 5. I then went on to The Sword of Kagan by M.L. Wang, and this was part of a read-along with Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews on his channel. And I'd had this book for a while. I'd been saving it, thinking this was a guaranteed 5 out of 5 book, but in the end, I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it at about 20%, 25% of the way through because it just felt very, very childish. I just really did not get on with it at all. There's obviously it's set in, or I thought it was going to be set in like ancient Japan, so I was expecting a lot of Japanese sounding names, but not this many all at once with no explanation or description of who they are, and all other terms and phrases just changed into Japanese for no reason. So for example, I think units of distance were changed, I think distance was changed, I think currencies were changed, directions were changed, and it's not explained. It's just all these words thrown at you with no explanation, and there was no descriptions either about anything. There were just these names of people with no descriptions, doing things in places with no descriptions, and I had no idea what was going on. The only bit of description that there was the magic system, which was quite interesting, but you're starting following these characters to start with, these couple of characters who were at this bit of a training school thing, which isn't really my thing anyway. And I'm like, right, okay, I don't really get what's going on. I don't really like what's going on, but these 2 characters are quite interesting. But then it changes to this female character, nothing wrong with the female character, who's with these other female characters and all their little baby children. And it's just all these new names just being thrown at you of these women and these babies, and you're thinking, do I need to know any of this? Do I need to remember it? Don't know. Can we get back to the main people we were following before? No, we're just carrying on with this character. And I thought, you know what? I'm really struggling. I'm having a bad time with it. I'm hate reading it. I'm going to have to put this down. And I think this is just a me thing. The vast majority of people, I think, really like this story. But for me, I just didn't like it at all. So yeah, I didn't give it a rating because I DNF'd it. So I picked up Blackthorne by Clayton Schneider. And Clayton Schneider is a self-published author. I've read one book of his before, which was called Cold West, and that was all right. It was a 3.5 out of 5. This one I ended up giving 3 scorpions out of 5. This world it's interesting. There's one thing for Clayton Schneider is he has got some wacky ideas, some unusual ideas about stories. And this story didn't seem like it knew what it wanted to be, really. This orphan who I think he was a necromancer, he could see dead people. There's this like necronet, which I always think like the internet, but it's just what necromancers can access. And he's an orphan and he goes to this training thing, and there's these matrons who are these all like dead powerful creatures, women. I'm not exactly sure what they were, but then it goes from this prison to this military school almost, and then these military operations, and then back into a prison, and all kinds. It's going all over the place, and there's these witches, there's monsters. The world is based around insects, so like body armor is like insect armor. Like buildings and vehicles are built on different kind of exoskeletons, whatever it's called, of various different insects and beetles and everything like that from this world. It's just crazy. Loads of violence, loads of action, loads of bad language. But I just wasn't that invested with the characters. There's a bit of a love story element to it as well, which it weren't really that invested in, because you didn't really get the time to spend with the characters. So look, Clayton Schneider has got a lot of potential as an author. I've got other books of his, I will read them, because there's lots of good ideas. It's like that band who you like and they just don't quite do it. They just don't quite get that fame, or that film that actor who never quite gets that big starring role that you think they deserve. And it's like, I feel like that with Clayton Schneider. There's talent there. It's just missing something just to put it all together, sharpen it up a little bit, give it a rub, give it a polish, and then present it and iron out the rough edges, should we say. But yeah, 3 out of 5 Scorpions for that book. I then read some Stephen King, and I read the Different Seasons book, the compilation of 4 short stories. I read 2 of the short stories in that collection, the first being Shawshank Redemption. If you've seen the film, like I have, then this story is more or less that film, beat for beat, really. And even though I watched the film and I knew how the film ended, I had a great time with this story. I loved it. It was beautifully written, about I can't remember his name, Dufresne, who's in the prison in Shawshank with the people he meets in there, and his story, and ultimately how the film ends. I'm not going to spoil it if you've not seen the film or heard about it, but it's a lovely, lovely book. I gave it 4 out of 5 crowns. And then the second book in that collection was Apt Pupil, and I'd not read this before. I had no idea what it was about, and it's about this perfect student, this young lad who is as a hobby, he's very interested in Nazi Germany, and he finds out that a neighbour down the road, this old man, used to be an SS guard at a concentration camp during the war, and he befriends him, or if you say befriend, gets to know him and begins to manipulate him. But then the old man, because he's a ex-SS guard and he's pretty nasty, starts manipulating the apt pupil. And it's how their relationship, if you want to call it that, develops. And because it's Stephen King, it develops in a unusual way. And the book ends in a way you would not expect from how the story begins. I'll just leave it at that. But it was good. I was reading it a bit thinking, oh, what's going on here? And I like that, because I was reading it a bit at arm's length thinking, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not quite sure where this is going. And I enjoyed that. I really did. So I gave that 4 students out of 5. So those are the books that I read in the month of July of 2023. Let me know what you read. Did you read any of those books? If you liked Sword of Kagan, please tell me in the comments below why I'm wrong, and I'll more than happily discuss it with you there. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.